Baltimore 24, and LA 20.5. And because of this, I think, even though the both defenses are very good, there's some value on the Baltimore side on this bet at -2.5. And I think there's some value on the over. We hedged, of course, with the Baltimore because of our Chargers future ticket. The sneaky thing about this Baltimore Ravens team is that they actually average the most plays per game. Okay, 70.9. That's over 3 plays higher than New England, who is second most at 67.1 plays per game. So, you think unders, good defense, rushing team. Well, they play a lot of plays. They play pretty fast. So there's a chance that this score should be a little bit higher. I actually, like I said, have it more at 44.5 to 50. So this should be enough for a play for me on the over 41.5 points. That's what I'm going to play. It's hard to trust Lamar Jackson not turning the ball over. How great the Chargers have been on the road, but yet will Lynn make the right decisions to stop Lamar Jackson? I lean Baltimore minus the points, and I'm taking the over. Indianapolis versus Houston. Houston laying 1.5 points. Over under is 49. A lot can be said how Houston has finished the season at 11-5, and the same can be said on how great Andrew Luck has looked with the Colts coming in second in passing yards. Both teams benefited from having the easiest schedules this year in football, right? The easiest. The Colts hit a bad patch of games during midseason, and it was due to injuries, and some of those injuries happened against the Texans that first game they played, which was 3-4 weeks into the season. If you look at the injury report, the Colts are now quite healthy, while the Texans just lost Demaryius Thomas, linebacker Brian Peters, cornerback Kayvon Webster, and there's 3 other pretty important guys questionable for this game as well. If everyone is healthy, I have the Colts about a 1-point favorite on a neutral field, meaning the Texans should be favored by 2 points here, which is kind of where it's at, -1.5, -2. But with the injuries here and how good the Colts have been lately, how the Texans kind of had a cake schedule, played some teams at the right time, I have this game more of a pick'em, right? Definitely more of a pick'em. I think you have to give the edge to the Colts here, I also do not think too much of Coach Bill O'Brien for the Texans. I think they kind of win in spite of him, and I think it's more about Deshaun Watson and how he plays the game. I have this game, via the numbers, if you factor in the injuries, about 23-23. So I'm leaning the Colts here. Obviously, I can't personally take them due to our 100-1 future bet, but being that defense travels and the Texans still have J.J. Watt and Clowney, I still think I think they might be able to hold the Colts a little bit back. I think this should be like a 24-21 type game, or a 24-23. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. And that means I'd like the under. Okay, I am going to be betting the under 49, and to tell you the side I like, even though the public and the sharp side is the Colts here, it's both dual action. I'm going to take the Colts under 49 points. Seattle versus Dallas. Dallas -1. Over under is 43. These teams are literally the same teams stat-wise. Both are almost exact on offense at around 350 yards per game, and both on defense allowing about the same. Their yards per player is about the same on offense as on defense. You wonder how these teams made it to the playoffs being so 50-50 here. Seattle has a great, they had a great finish to the season making the playoffs. They really did. And all the while, Dallas was kind of up and down. Both teams run the ball very well, as we've seen. But I think these teams are very dependent on their home fields. Both of them are very dependent. And they can be a much different team away. We just recently saw Seattle dominate Kansas City at home, and then they go to San Francisco away and lose. We saw Dallas dominate the Saints at home, right? We were on that game. And then they get shut out the next week at Indy, So I have this game from a numbers perspective, Dallas winning 23-22. But I factored in the whole body of work and just gave the points for home field, the typical 3. I think it's a little bit more of a difference with these teams. So Dallas is a much better team at home, 5-2-1 against the spread at home, while Seattle is a modest 3-3-1 against the spread away. I also really like what the Cowboys tight end Blake Jarwin showed last week, who had 3 TDs. He was the offensive player of the week. And I think now you can kind of see he's a new weapon for Dak Prescott, a little bit more trustable now. So when Amari Cooper's double teamed, he's another out for old Dak there. The Seahawks are a little more banged up than the Cowboys on the injury report. The coaching advantage is definitely goes to Pete Carroll. Don't get me wrong here. But this is also a revenge spot for Big D. So reluctantly, I have to go with the Cowboys -1. This is a play. I am taking Dallas -1 here. And I just love how they play at home. Philadelphia versus the Chicago Bears. Chicago's laying 5.5 points. Over under is a low total at 41. So I got to tell you, man, this number, it kind of bounced around a lot. It opened at 5, went to 6, now it's back to 5.5. Most power rankings have the Bears about 2 points better than the Eagles. So if it's at home, it's about 5-ish, as you can see. But, man, what can you say about these Nick Foles-led Eagles? How great have they been lately? Such a scary team. They beat the Rams at L.A. They beat the Texans on the road as well before shutting out the Redskins last week to make the playoffs. How crazy good is that? Now, like I said, that we're not so high on the Texans, but just shutting out the Redskins and beating the Rams, that says something, man. Both Coach Nagy and Peterson know each other well from being in Kansas City under Andy Reid. As a matter of fact, they've been with each other a long time. They're buddies. There's probably no other coach that knows each other better than these two. Now, this actually should work in favor for both teams. Both have great D coordinators with Jim Schwartz on the Eagles, and obviously Vic Fangio on the Bears. Probably get defensive coordinator of the year. The Bears are definitely healthier here on D, especially in the defensive backs. But the Eagles are no slouches against the run. They rank 8th against the run now, and they're trending up, the last 3-4 weeks. The Eagles definitely have been here before, so they might end up being more confident on offense here with Nick Foles at the helm, more than first-time Bears playoff quarterback Mitchell Trubisky, and Trubisky can be prone to some mistakes, especially when he's under a pressure game like this one. The kicker here is that crazy good pass rush Chicago has, even though it's so crazy good, if Foles does the 3-step drops and, gets some things going, he might have a shot here. But I think Foles with the rib injuries, I think it just takes the Bears to really hit him once, and it could throw him off his game here. He's going to want to get rid of the ball quickly, possibly play a little bit more press coverage there. From a pure numbers perspective, I have in the algorithm the Bears winning 24 to 19.5. But that factors out the whole season of work. I mean, if you're looking at the last few weeks, it's more like 23 to 21 type deal, right? It's a little bit, I would say, the way the Eagles dominated their last 3 weeks, you almost would think that they might even be favored on a neutral field. But at the same time, the Bears have done the same. They beat the Rams at home, beat the Niners, and took out the Vikings. So both teams, really good finishes here. But what worries me is that the Eagles have been there, done that, and they did it with Foles, and they're trending up right now. The fact that they've been there before makes me lean Philadelphia plus 5.5. All right. So I think the proper play, if you're going to have to play this game, is Philly plus 5.5. Now, I'm just going to lean it. I know I have the Super Bowl future. I have to bet the Eagles anyway in the money line, but I am leaning 5.5 points with the Eagles. If that thing gets to 6.5, then it's a play. Let's move into college football national championship. All right, the college football national championship. We have Clemson versus Alabama, and Alabama is a 6-point favorite. I think it's down to 5.5 now. Over under is 59. Well, I must say that about 2 months ago, I had Clemson about 9-point dogs to Alabama in the power ratings. What has changed? Well, nothing has changed from 2 months ago. Trevor Lawrence was starting, right? But I figured out about 6 weeks ago who Clemson really is. Okay, they are not who we thought they were, Denny Green. They are not who I thought they were.
But they are who we thought they were.
No, they're not. Because I was thinking more Clemson, Kelly Bryant Clemson, last year's Clemson. But I got to tell you this. Trevor Lawrence is a huge upgrade over Kelly Bryant. When they played Texas A&M with Kelly Bryant, only won by 2. I underestimated Texas A&M a little bit, and obviously underestimated their backup quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, and how much better he really was than Kelly Bryant. As a matter of fact, I think the upgrade was so big that Clemson kind of became Alabama to me. It's about 6 weeks ago. Clemson is Alabama. Let's see what we have here. We have probably the second best coach in college football with Dabo Swinney. All right. I don't think anybody can say he's not at this point behind number 1 Nick Saban, right? We have the best defensive line in college football in Clemson. And without Dexter Lawrence, if he doesn't play this game, which he's not supposed to, I don't believe, they can still rival Alabama there, be pretty close to equal to Alabama. Better with Dexter Lawrence, equal without him. As far as the defensive backs go, how did Notre Dame look passing the ball against Clemson? All right. From a skill position perspective, we have running backs for Alabama, Damian Harris, Najee Harris, Josh Jacobs, kind of became the three-headed monster for Alabama, averaging 5 points